Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And I got to give this one to you that's straight out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That happened a few weeks ago, if you have not heard about it. And this story is encapsulated around a young person, mental health issues, hopelessness, helplessness, and homelessness. And there is some hypocrisy and dichotomy in this story because this 20-year-old white male ambushed three firefighters, got them to come into this particular park. He set a brush fire on purpose. The firefighters had asked him to move his car, and he allegedly took out a weapon, ambushed three firefighters, killing two of them. And in this story, I want to talk about what is happening with our young people today. We are having a semblance of the children of the corn. And I don't know if it's our fault as parents, but we're reaching a new age and time, and it almost feels like the end of days in the Bible, where we have these young folks, teenagers, all the way up to probably the age of 30 that are living in a depthless, hopeless, and helpless existence. And there is a fine line between life and death. We have many young people that are having opioid issues and to manage their mental and physical pain. There are many, many young folks today that are extremely bitter, sad, confused, and are lashing out in some of the most heinous ways that society has bred. And we have to take a look in the mirror. We are going to lose an entire generation of individuals based on inept inner city public schools, fatherless homes, the lack of desire to go to college, the lack of desire to have a career, and this situation is extremely sad, but it should be a telltale story that this happened in Idaho, but it could happen anywhere. And the hypocrisy here is he ambushed these firefighters, but allegedly he wanted to be a firefighter. So look at the hypocrisy and the dichotomy there. This evidently was a very confused young man who ended up committing these heinous crimes, and subsequently he committed suicide. So let's go into the story on how all of this took place and how this young man got to this breaking point to not only take a life or multiple lives, but also take his. Where are we at today as a society? Where is the appropriation of love, which is an action and a verb, and we need to remove all of this hatred. So, out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, a man who started a brush fire and then fatally shot two firefighters and wounded another in northern Idaho was a 20-year-old transient who attacked the first responders after they asked him to move his vehicle, a sheriff said. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris offered new details about the confrontation at Canfield Mountain, just north of Coeur d'Alene, a popular recreation area. So this is a recreation area where you're supposed to go relax and have fun, maybe bring your family. And out in this wooded area, you had this gentleman who was evidently going through quite a bit. He said Wes Rowley was the 20-year-old transient, was living out of his vehicle. There's the caveat of homelessness. Had once aspired to become a firefighter and had only a handful of minor contacts with area police in his life. It says that we have not been able to find a manifesto, the sheriff said, adding a motive was still unknown. Norris said families of the victims are in shock. Absolutely. They're in shock and they're still processing it. So remember now, this also has to deal with public safety. And we have to talk about this more and more and bring it to some kind of light, because now you're seeing where young people in Chicago and other cities not only are shooting and killing firefighters, but they're killing police officers also. There have been a few police officers in Chicago over the last 2 years that have been ambushed and killed even in uniform. And now you have this situation. So you go from Chicago to Idaho, two very different cities and states, but what is the common denominator? Murder and mayhem, helplessness and hopelessness can come across the entire 50 states. So just when you think it couldn't happen in your city or your state, crime, the opioid crisis, there is no barrier between zip code, city, county, race, creed, or color. They said the 2 veteran firefighters were killed and a third was in critical condition. Battalion Chief Frank Harwood, 42, who had been with the county fire department for 17 years. 17 years. He had been with the fire department almost as long as this kid had been alive. He was killed. Kootenai County Fire and Rescue Chief Christopher Way said during a news conference on Monday. Harwood was married and had 2 children, and he also was a veteran of the Army National Guard. Coeur d'Alene Fire Department Battalion Chief John Morrison, who was 52, was also killed after working for the department for 28 years. So you got this guy worked for the fire department longer than Wes Rowley was alive, and both of these gentlemen could have been Wes Rowley's father. So this dynamic of these young people that are disrespectful to their elders, they're disrespectful to each other, the overly sexualized music that you hear today, especially in rap, the technology that is moving at a fast pace where a kid can push a button and find anything out that they want, good or bad. Technology has replaced us as parents. We are in an unstable world today, and we have a complete generation that is in complete trouble. Whether it's a black kid or a white kid, the amount of gun violence and violence perpetrated against another human being is rising through the roof. Coeur d'Alene Fire Department Coeur d'Alene Fire Department engineer David Tisdale, 47, he sustained gunshot wounds and was in critical condition. So he was a fire department engineer. Authorities said he had 2 successful surgeries, so hopefully he'll be okay. After the shooting, local law enforcement agencies have offered to go on every call that the fire department goes on from now on as a result of this situation. He says, I don't know that we're ever going to be able to guarantee people's peace of mind, at least for a while after an incident like this. You're talking about trauma at its highest level. But he said, but we are taking every measure we can to ensure safety to our responders. Remember, this is public safety. It falls under the umbrella of public safety, whether it's your police force or your fire department. Wes Rowley has set a fire using a flint, and the firefighters who rushed to the scene instead found themselves under fire. So they were going to listen to the hypocrisy there. They were going to a scene to put out a fire, and they got ambushed and led into a gunfire. They took cover behind fire trucks. There was an interaction with the firefighters, Norris said. It had something to do with his vehicle being parked where it was. They say Rowley had ties to California and Arizona before moving to Idaho. Wes Rowley later killed himself, the sheriff said. He had ties to California and Arizona and was living in Idaho for the better part of 2024, Norris said. But as far as when he got here, why he was here, why he chose this place, they do not know. They said 2 helicopters converged on the area, armed with snipers ready to take out the suspect if needed, while the FBI used cell phone data to track him, and the sheriffs ordered residents to shelter in place. They eventually found Wes Rowley, 20 years old, dead in the mountains. His firearm was beside him, so he committed suicide. Wes Rowley lived with T.J. Franks Jr. for about 6 months in Sandpoint, Idaho, while working for a tree service, Franks said. Franks had cameras in his apartment. They caught Rowley throwing gang signs at them one day, which worried Franks to the point that he called the police. Here again, talking about the kind of culture that these young folks are living in today. There is more negativity than positivity. He said, I don't know what to really think about it. I just called the cops and had them talk to him. The landlord also called Franks one morning because neighbors reported that Rowley's vehicle had been left running for about 12 hours. Frank said Rowley was asleep in his room and said he forgot about his vehicle. So that tells you mental illness breakdown, or maybe he had a substance abuse problem. Frank said Rowley started acting a little weird and at one point shaved his long hair off completely. We just kind of noticed him starting to decline or kind of go downhill. And this is where it's very important to pay attention to your neighbors, your family, and friends. If you see signs and symptoms that someone is falling apart, extend an olive branch to help them. So there's an outpouring of support to the victims. Outpouring of support for the victims was swift in Coeur d'Alene, a city of 55,000 residents near the border of the state of Washington. Hours after the shooting, people gathered along Interstate 90 holding American flags to pay their respects as the 2 fallen firefighters' bodies were taken to the medical examiner's office in Spokane, Washington. Governor Brad Little ordered U.S. and Idaho state flags to be lowered to half-staff to honor the firefighters until the day after their memorial service. The governor went on to say that all our public safety officers, especially our firefighters, bravely confront danger on a daily basis, but we have never seen such a heinous act of violence like this on our firefighters. And here again, just when you should expect the unexpected. We are now living in a time that the unforeseen will become seen. And there are some biblical signs that are taking place where we are headed in the very much wrong direction. The governor said this is not Idaho. This indescribable loss is felt deeply by all those in the firefighting community and beyond. So here again, he takes out 2 firefighters. These individuals are part of our public safety, our police force. We should be, as tax-paying citizens, in alignment with these individuals that are putting their lives on the line each and every day. Though the shelter-in-place order was lifted, the sheriff's office cautioned residents to be prepared because the fire was still burning. The Idaho Department of Land said it had burned about 26 acres, the fire that he started. Wade described the fire on Monday as reasonably contained, saying that respondents had stopped significant forward progress of the fire. Fire has always been a concern for this region, said Bruce Deming, whose property abuts the trail system. But when he noticed smoke on the ridge that Sunday afternoon, he wondered why no firefighting helicopters were responding. When a friend texted him to tell him about the shooting, he realized why he wasn't seeing aircraft, because they were concerned about being shot at. So there was a witness who recognized his fire but didn't see any firefighters, and he wondered what's going on, but he was unaware that this gentleman had started the fire, and then when the firefighters got there, Mr. Rowley decided to ambush and take fire, gunfire towards these firefighters. What a sad, sad scenario. I had to bring this story to light. And here again, this is all encapsulated or clouded around what is happening with our young folks today. Is it the fatherless homes? Is it the poor public school systems? Is it the opioid crisis? Is it homelessness, helplessness? The level of inhumanity is rising through the roof today. And you're seeing younger and younger people committing heinous, deadly crimes. And I don't think they're realizing the circumstances and the end result of these kinds of heinous acts against other human beings, what the end result will be. And we know it's only two: life in prison or death upon itself. And this young man shot and killed 2 firefighters and then turned the gun on himself. He was at the beginning of life. His brain was not even fully developed. And you're seeing this across the line, whether it's black kids, white kids. We're reaching a panacea of hopelessness and helplessness that is out of control. The prison industrial complex is going to go through the roof as far as numbers, and the morgue and funeral homes, the number of individuals that are going to end up there is going to continue to skyrocket until we find a way to ensure that our public safety throughout our cities, our states, and our country is in a healthy, moral, and ethical position. We're having our own kind of civil war that's taking place right here in America. Low-income individuals, whether they're black or white, are feeling so much disrepair or despair that they're thinking that there is no way out, and the way that they're handling their aggression towards society is the most diabolical thing that's taking place today. Tell me what you think about this story, about this 20-year-old man, young man, Wes Rowley, Roley, who ambushed and shot 3 firefighters and killing 2 of them, and then turned the gun on himself. And the irony in this whole story is that allegedly he also wanted to become a firefighter. Whereas there is a ton of confusion in our young people today. We have to get back to having a purpose-driven life, manifesting our truth in the appropriate, positive way, God-fearing way, or else we're going to lose an entire segment of our society of young folks to prison or to the graveyard. Tell me what you think. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.